out the fact that the visa bulletin has not moved at all. So what we want to talk about is the upcoming H-1B season, the registration, and how people can get on that, unless people have questions. So if any of you have questions and you want me to answer, please put them in the chat and I'll be more than happy to address them. Let's see, I got that one up. All right, so I know. So we are on multiple platforms and we cannot please everybody. So I'm just going to look at 3 different cameras at the same time. So we are on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. If you guys have immigration questions, put them in the chat and I'll be more than happy to address them. So one of the questions that we get often when it comes to employment lottery season, H-1B lottery season is, what is the process and how do I get my entry into the lottery? And most of the time, people don't like to hear when I tell them you need an employer to sponsor you. So in order to enter into the H-1B, there is certain criteria. That's first. And second, you need to have an employer register and sponsor you for the H-1B lottery. H-1B is a temporary visa. It's a work visa that allows you to stay in the United States 3 years. Then you can extend it for 3 more years. And there are a couple of exceptions, in which case you can extend it a little bit more. But first, you need to show that you are qualified to take the job. You need to get an employer, a U.S. employer, to sponsor you. So we cannot help you, and that's very common. It's a very common question. We cannot help you find an employer. You need to find that all on your own. And once you go through the employment verification process and they are extending an offer to you, then, the employer would have to go through the H-1B lottery and enter into the process, register, and then you hope to get selected in the lottery. Last year, there were, I think, 700,000 candidates for less than 10% of that in visas. So, and it's very strict. The program is very stringent. Now, depending on your country, H-1B may not be the only option. There are additional options for Australians, Canadians, a few others, Chile, Singapore. So H-1B, it's a very good option at this time of the year if there is an employer to sponsor you, okay? The problem is the employer has a business need to fill that position right now. And unless they have been looking for a very, very long time and they cannot find a qualified worker in the US, doesn't mean a US citizen, could be anyone with a work permit or authorized to work legally. Unless they find that employer, then they're not going to be willing to sponsor you because the process is costly. That's one. It takes a long time, and you cannot start working for that employer unless you are selected in the lottery. The employer has submitted the application and the petition on your behalf. You were granted the visa, and then you still cannot work until October 1st when the fiscal year starts. So this year we are doing the lottery for the fiscal year that's 2025 fiscal year. So it's H-1B lottery 2025. And the fiscal year with immigration starts on October 1st. So those are the main issues with H-1B lottery. Of course, every employer has particular questions. Every employee has particular questions. There are no 2 cases that are identical. So I always suggest have the employer's attorney discuss it with them, discuss it with you, and come up with a plan that makes sense, okay? Now, let's see. We have some questions on TikTok. I think I saw at least one. Let's see. If I remarry my ex-wife, can I file again? A letter was wrote before to stop the petition. So let me ask you this and respond, please, so I can give you more information. It was your ex-wife that actually wrote the letter to immigration to stop the petition. Basically, she probably said, he's using me for papers. Is that what she said? Obviously, yes. So why would you want to marry her again? Why? Also, tell me, when was the divorce final between the two of you? Tell me when the divorce was final so I can see if you have other options. We are getting back together. Okay, she can absolutely file another petition for you. Okay, but 5 years ago. So you got divorced 5 years ago and you're getting back together. By the way, it's more common than you think. Okay, but because she already wrote that letter to immigration and you were denied as a result of that, it would be a higher standard of proof to show that this time the relationship is real. And why would she write that letter when you have a 10-year-old child together? People are ridiculous. Anyway, talk to your wife and do not do that application on your own, because once she wrote that letter, that went to Homeland Security investigations. Okay, and then there are other issues at play. Give us a call and let's see how we can help you. Okay, and do that before you get married, ideally. Okay, now Navdeep, can I file citizenship if I have a 551 stamp on passport? I never received the physical green card. Navdeep, what I want to know is your actual green card that you did, that was granted to you. Was it a conditional green card? Was it a permanent 10-year green card? And how long have you been a permanent resident? Okay, let me know that. I also would like to know if you obtained your green card through marriage. And if it was through marriage, are you still married and living together with your spouse? Because yes, it's not a simple question. I need all that information in order to help you out, okay? It was granted by an immigration judge. Fabulous. Was it more than 5 years ago? How long ago was it, Navdeep? Okay, let me finish with his question and then I'll address all the other ones. All right, guys? 3 years. Okay. If your citizenship, if your permanent residency was granted because of a VAWA application, then you are eligible to file after 3 years. Otherwise, you have to wait for the 5 years, unless when the judge granted it, it was VAWA. Yes, you can file in 3 years, okay? It's actually 2 years and 9 months. Whether you got the actual card or not doesn't matter as long as you have the approval notice. But be careful with filing naturalization when it's based on VAWA, okay? Give us a call. Let's see how we can help you out. It's 954-466-0070, and we can help you regardless of where you are in the United States. We have clients in all states, okay? Let's chat. Let's see, there are some other questions. Good. So, got my EAD and advanced parole, no criminal records, no deportation proceeding. Am I safe to travel? I'm going to answer that, but I need you to understand this. This is not legal advice because I do not know anything about your situation. Only your attorney, who knows everything about how you got here, how much you overstayed, when did you get here, all those things, okay? Only an attorney can properly advise you whether it's safe to travel or not. That being said, if you got your advanced parole and your work permit and you have a 485, which is a green card application pending, okay, and it's still pending, okay, then theoretically you should be able to travel, okay? Where you travel makes a difference. How long you're going to travel for also makes a difference, okay? So I'm assuming you're going to travel back to one of the former USSR countries based on your characters of the letters, okay? Let's see. Navdeep, please, yes, give me a call, all right? Don't take this lightly. You want to do this the right way. Okay, Shonda, how long is one financially supportive for the immigrant and what happens if there is a divorce? Shonda, I'm assuming, and I may be wrong, that you are the US citizen or the permanent resident, or that you may have been the joint sponsor in a petition for permanent residency. Now, how long you are, yes, ma'am, good. So here is what we need to know, okay? Let me get back, make sure I don't forget everybody's, okay? Divorce does not terminate your obligation under the affidavit of support. The affidavit of support, it's a contract between you and the government. It's not between you and your spouse or ex-spouse. And the only things that terminate that affidavit of support are your debt, his debt, 40 qualifying quarters of employment on the part of the beneficiary, that's 10 years, or him becoming a citizen. That's it. Depending on the circumstances, sometimes I tell my clients, please, if there is no abuse and you guys are okay, stay married until after the beneficiary becomes a citizen. Of course, if you can stand each other, right? And if you're living together, still trying to work things out, stay married so you can also terminate the obligations that you have under the affidavit of support, okay? Now, how long one is financially supportive for immigrant when it's not a marriage-based case, when you are not the sponsor, but you just sponsor them, for example, for a temporary program, such as United for Ukraine or Humanitarian Reinstatement. Those are different, okay? So let's just focus on Shonda for now. All right, good. What does a petitioner who doesn't meet the financials have to provide for an 864? Okay, Jojo, let me address that. Okay, you can qualify. First, you are the petitioner, so you must file the 864. If you did not have the income, okay, to prove that you can sponsor this person, then you have a few options. One, and the income varies depending on how you support. It doesn't go by your gross income. It goes by your total income / adjusted gross income on your taxes. You must have filed your taxes for the past few years. You need to provide that documentation. But let's say you had a kid, you stay home, you didn't make it, okay? And now you can qualify on assets. There is a huge calculation on that needs to be done in order to qualify on assets. It could be real estate, it could be a second vehicle, it could be a business, it could be many things. Each of them has their own rules. More common than not, people choose to find another family member or a friend, relative who's willing to be a joint sponsor and who has enough income. Now, let's say you do not meet the financials. Let's say you are self-employed and maybe your business had a loss, but maybe you're only like $2,000 short. Maybe you made some cash last year that you didn't declare, and it might be easier for you to amend your tax return and actually declare the cash. Every single situation is different. We can look at your situation. If you didn't meet the financial, and that's the reason that stops you from filing the application on behalf of your beneficiary, give us a call. Let's see how we can assist you. Okay. If that is not the case and you already got a request for evidence asking for more, then you seriously have a deadline. And depending on if that was called a request for evidence, gave you 87 days, or a simple notice of continuance, you have a very limited time to respond. Okay. You could, depending on the timing, wait until you do the taxes for this year if you already filed and you got a request for evidence. Let's see. So Jojo, give us a call if you need, 954-466-0070. And yes, guys, my consultations are not free. These are my free consults, okay? But I can look at your information. I can properly advise you. So let's talk about that, okay? Let's see. Okay. Can an I-130 application be expedited after filing? What would be your reason to expedite the application? Okay, we have had veterans who need care, veterans who need their spouses to come, veterans who are pregnant, for example, and they're still getting denied. So what would be your reason? It is very rare that they approve the expedite. And even if they approve the request to expedite, that doesn't mean you're getting approved. It could be denied. We recommend expediting the application on very limited circumstances. Okay. Now, the I-130 application being expedited, it's never going to work on family preference categories. It will only work on, it may work if the child ages out. But other than that, it will not work on family preference categories. It will only work on immediate relatives. You have a 485. Good. So if you do have a 485, then yes, you want to give us a call. Let's see how we can. Well, I addressed your question about the affidavit of support, okay? If you need more, tell me more, okay? But I think I addressed it. Good. Hi, let's see. How long does it take for Form I-824 to be approved? Okay, it depends. We have been lucky. We got a couple approved in about 2 months, but I'm telling you that is an outlier. It doesn't happen. We have 824 applications that take over a year. 824s are very, very slow right now, okay? There might be a way around it if you want the if you want that. It depends on how you filled out the initial I-130, okay? There might be a way to get National Visa Center to act without doing an 824, but it really depends on how you filled out the I-130 initially, okay? My pleasure, Shonda. Let's see. Ilya, can my family in the United States sponsor me while I'm not a refugee? They can sponsor you if you're not a refugee. It depends on where you are, and it depends on the family relationship. So let's talk about that for a second, okay? You can have a spouse, parent, or child to sponsor you. Depending on their immigration status, they could be US citizens or permanent residents, and the categories vary depending on their immigration status and their relationship to you. You may want to go to Google and do visa bulletin, and it will tell you which categories can sponsor for you and which categories cannot. Hi. All right, 1 second. So I see a message on YouTube. I know what your name is. I have 23 years in this country. I'm under TPS. What should I do to get the green card? If I'm not mistaken, you are one of our current clients, or we have had this conversation before a few times, but I do not know because I don't have your information in front of me. So what can you do to get a green card? It really depends on your situation, how you came to the country, what relatives you have in the country. Have you been in removal? Have you not been in removal? Okay. Do you have a criminal record or you do not have a criminal record? And this is a general answer, okay? But you know more about it because we gave you personalized advice when we met a while ago, if I'm not mistaken, okay? If I am mistaken, I apologize, but I remember very well names of people I meet with. All right, let's see. Can I apply for 601A waiver along with 485 AOS? I've been residing in the US for 10 years. If you're eligible for 485, then your 601A, it's complicated. It is not as easy as you think. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the United States. You could theoretically apply for the waiver. Do you need it though? The question is, do you really need it? Who told you that you need that waiver? How did you enter the country? How, you've been in the United States for 10 years. What was your status during this period of time, during these 10 years, okay? So that's not a simple question at all. And if you need to file a waiver along with anything else, do not do this application on your own. And I'm not talking about the waiver, the entire application packet. Okay, Akash? I'm a US citizen. I want to bring my brother to the US. Is it possible? How long does it take? Bakshi, so tell me first what country you are from, because that's going to vary how long it's going to take. Let's put it this way. The visa bulletin for January says that assuming you already petitioned for your brother, yes, you can bring him, okay? They are the 4th preference category. That means all the other visas have to be exhausted before they even get to you, okay? And right now, if you are not from China, India, Mexico, or Philippines, okay, they are processing applications filed in May 2007. That should tell you how long it's going to take. Add another 2 years for processing. We're looking 2005, 20 years. How about you call an immigration attorney with your brother, schedule a deep consultation, look at his own immigration history, family history, education. Maybe they can qualify to come to the United States on different options. Maybe they have more than one citizenship, okay? So that's probably your better option. Other than that, just file the I-130 and get it in the queue. Not doing it doesn't move anything. Rosie, I appointment for my brother's sister in 2008. She's in Pakistan. How much more left? So if you apply for your brother in 2008, as I was just telling Bakshi over there, they are processing right now applications filed in May 2007, theoretically. Okay. For filing is March 2008. So soon you should be able to. You should check the visa bulletin on the track. You will get probably an email from National Visa Center as soon as becoming current to continue the processing. All right. Make sure your National Visa Center has the most up-to-date information on you. Make sure it has your email address. Update them with everything so you will not miss one email. And after you email them, it's going to take 60 days to get back to you. So, Sarah, how long after EAD approval can I get green card? One has nothing to do with the other. Two totally separate processes, processed in different places. Some people get the green card before they even get the work permit, okay? If you got the work permit, you should have gotten the social security number. One has nothing to do with the other. Depending on where you actually live, they may waive the interview and you may not have to go for a green card interview. I don't know how solid your initial application was when you submitted it, but assuming it was solid, you might get the green card by mail and not go to an interview. Okay. How much is the wait for the oath of allegiance? It depends on where you live. And if you already had your interview, okay, so first you need to have the interview, pass the English and the civics test, make sure there are no other issues. Make sure that not more than 6 months passed from the time of your interview. If it's more than that, then you have problems. They should be scheduling it and make a decision within 6 months, okay? Now, if it's been longer than that and you have filed inquiries and it didn't go anywhere, hire a lawyer, okay? If you want us, fine. It's 954-466-0070. We help people no matter where you guys are in the United States. But you really need to look into this if it's been that long. All right, let's see. How long? Oh, Jenna, that's the worst question. How long are removal of conditions taking right now? 4 years minimum. 4 years minimum. However, if you're doing removal of conditions and you filed a joint petition, not a waiver petition, and you filed over a year ago, I'm assuming you're still married and living with your spouse. I'm looking at your profile picture, okay? If that is the case, you might be able to actually file for citizenship and not wait for the removal of conditions to continue, okay? Give us a call and let's see if you're actually eligible for that already. Why wait 4 years? It's crazy. My child 751 is pending even though my 751 and N400 has been approved. Oh, no. Your 751, if it was pending at the same time, your child 751, as soon as yours was approved, theirs should have been approved. And if you're already a citizen, you need to start a new process for your child. It is not, that's just there, okay? You need to start a new process. Your kid's green card should have been approved pretty much the same day. How long do you have to wait to be interviewed after VAWA was approved in New York City? That's a good question. In some cases, they are also approving the green cards in Vermont, not necessarily with you having to go to an interview. It really depends on your particular situation. And in New York City, we have cases with VAWA approved that are almost 2 years now after the 360 was approved to be scheduled for an interview. Okay, but make sure the case was indeed transferred. Make sure your 485 was transferred to New York City. Make sure it's no longer in Vermont. You may want to file an inquiry. Can I fully sponsor an international student from abroad? It depends. What are you sponsoring them for? Are you supporting them financially, or what's going on? Okay. Can I apply for 601A waiver along with 485 AOS for first preference category? My mother is, your mother is a citizen. So if she's a citizen, who's applying for what? That makes no sense. Give me more information. I have current I-20 and entered on F1 visa. Got it. Okay, so you are an I-20. Okay, so you want your mom to sponsor you, or what's going on there? Because if you're a student and you're on F1, how are you going to sponsor anybody? If your mom is a citizen, she wants to sponsor you. If you're over the age of 21, it's not... The processing times are like crazy right now. So if she's already a permanent married, she's already a citizen. Theoretically, yes, you can, but you won't be. No, you need, something's up. Something's up in your history there. Something doesn't make sense. What's the timeline for parent filing for adult children? So depends on the situation. If the parent is a citizen, or the parent, J, or the parent is a permanent resident, okay? And if the child is, the adult child, is it married or single, okay? So all that matters. You guys can look at the visa bulletin. It tells you all that. Jordi, I got humanitarian parole. My mom is a permanent resident. Can I become permanent resident? It depends. If you're here with admission or parole, as long as you can stay here legally in status the entire time that it will take for your case to be adjudicated and the visa bulletin is current, then yes, she can apply for you, but you need to make sure you have status. Okay, that is not the question for this forum. Somebody, an immigration attorney, would need to look at your entire history and your mom's and see if the timeline will match to help you. Okay. Akash, I'm sorry I couldn't give you more. Give us a call and let's discuss all the details whatsoever before you embark on anything. So Bash, you're from Afghanistan. He's at Pakistan now. He fled because his arrest warrant has been issued. Well, if it's an arrest warrant, that is a criminal matter that will likely make him more inadmissible to the United States, and that's even more complicated. I missed my biometric appointment. What do I do now? You call the 800 number and you ask USCIS to reschedule your biometrics appointment, and they'll give you a new appointment, unless your application was already denied because you missed the appointment. How long does it take for you to get your green card if you marry a citizen? It depends on where you are located in the United States. It could be anywhere between, seriously, 3 months and 3 years. How long is the wait for citizenship? It depends on your local office. So it depends on where you are located. Where we are, for example, it's less than 6 months. We have had some in 2 months. Don't count on that 2 months because it's not the norm, okay? Let's see. If the person comes to visit, can they apply for a work permit, and do they get a work permit? If you're coming to visit as a tourist, how are you going to get a work permit? You would need to find an employer willing to sponsor you, and that application would need to be processed during the period of time that you're here, but you only have 6 months, and that's very unlikely to happen. You are much better off applying for a visa to come to the United States directly with a work visa. And depending on your education, experience, country, and so on, there are various options. H-1B, H-2B, B-1 if you work on a yacht, TN if you're Canadian or Mexican. There are many, many different options. First, you need an employer. How long after, how long after approval of the I-130? I just missed that question. Oof. Hold on. I will only have time for a few more questions, but I want to make sure I get this ones. Oof, I missed a bunch. Let's see. How long after approval of the I-130 does NVC reach out? They are very slow right now. They take about 3 to 4 months after your I-130 was approved and it got to National Visa Center for them to reach out and send you something. Normally, they would send you at least an acknowledgement and the creation of a case. And if it's one of those that's family preference and they don't need to do any processing right now, they might take even longer. Is there any chance to have or apply for a green card for 11 years overstay? Absolutely, there is. It depends on your particular circumstances. Please call us, book a legal strategy session, and let's chat. I missed what you said about my child 751. Okay, so Tika, this is what I said. If your your 751 and N400 was approved, your child should have been approved at exactly the same time. If it's not, it definitely shouldn't be pending. That's one. And second, you need to start another process to get your child's citizenship if you are approved already. Okay? Assuming your child is still under the age of 18. 5 years living US citizen, but some people living here like 8 years, but still they don't have papers. It really depends. Every person is different. I see people who have been here 20 years and they still don't have papers. Every person is different. Every client is different. There is nothing worse than you can do when you call an immigration lawyer and tell them, I only have one question. Can you answer this for me? No, I have not yet seen 2 identical cases in my entire career. It just doesn't happen. There are now 2 cases that are identical. Okay, guys, just know that. Does the 5-year work permit affect the waiting time for a marriage-based green card? No, it doesn't. One has nothing to do with the other. My husband's a US citizen. He filed for me and his mom. They approved his mom, not me. I'm still waiting. It's possible. The mom is a different category. In your case, you also need to show that it's a good faith marriage. I don't know how solid your application was when you submitted it, because you could have been approved also without an interview, just like his mom. We'll be more than happy to look at it if you'd like us to. Okay. What is the next step after approval to adjust status? If your adjustment of status was approved, you should be getting the green card. So assuming you got the green card, next thing you go and get a social security number that doesn't say for work permit, just valid with work permit only. And if your category depends on your category. So the next step depends on, is it a conditional green card? Is it a permanent green card, 10 years, 2 years, based on employment, based on what? So it's either removal of conditions or citizenship in general. Okay. How long after I-130 approved will I-485 be processed if filed concurrently? It depends. They could approve it without an interview, or you could be waiting a year and a half for the local office to schedule you for an interview. I-130 receipt date, November 2019, unmarried adult son. And you said your mom is a US citizen, right? So let's see. November 2019. Unmarried. You got ways to go, because that one they are processing right now, 2015. Okay, assuming she's a citizen. If she would have been only a permanent resident, actually, it would have been, let's see, have to be, it's about the same, doesn't matter. Okay, so we are still looking at from 2015 to 2024, another 9 years. Okay, you might want to look at other options. Okay, let's look at other options. If you're here on a student visa, maybe you're doing a master's degree, maybe you already have a bachelor's degree, maybe you can find an employer. Okay, don't just wait on that. It could take too long. I'm just worried I go out of status till my adjustment of status comes by. I know. Give us a call, schedule a legal strategy session. Let's work out the entire timeline and see what options you have. You might have none, but maybe you have some. Okay. All right. So I do not have any more time because I have my next appointment. I will see you guys again on Tuesday about the same time, 3:30-ish. Okay. Hope I addressed a lot of questions. If any of you want us to help you, or you have additional questions. I can't address them all here, except in very general terms. None of it is legal advice. 954-466-0070, or follow the link on our profile and let's chat. Okay?